Hi folks, welcome to the program All About Cars. My name is Ralph Medeiros. I own and operate Ralph's Auto Center in the north end of New Bedford with my son Andrew. Andrew's at the dealership right now. If you're in the market for an automobile, you should go by and see him. Or if you're thinking about in the future not too far away and you want to discuss your thoughts and pricing and financing and things like that, it's always wise to plan it and be prepared. That's the difference between us and many of the auto dealerships. You walk in, they just want your social security number to run it, see if you're creditworthy or not, and then the conversation either continues or they just ask you, kind of ignore you because they can't finance you. So we don't operate that way. We try to work with people and help them get financed, and we're not just interested in selling you right at the moment. We try to arrange it where your payments come in to where you're comfortable, and you don't go broke trying to make your car payments, and then you find out 3-6 months later you can't afford your car and you lose it. It's repossessed. So and that's very, very, very common. And it happens a lot to younger people who just don't understand how the system works. So it all comes down to where you do business and who you do business with. And we would appreciate if you give us a shot for your business. And we're located at 867 Church Street in the north end of New Bedford, just off exit 5 off of Route 140. Put you on Church Street, head down Church Street, just over half a mile, 1 kilometer down for you folks who think in kilometers. And we're just past Regal House, Webb Plumbing and Heating, Dollar General, and then there's Ralph's Auto Center, directly opposite of New Bedford Vocational's faculty entrance. Very easy to get to, not a traffic light or a stop sign. You can ring us up here, 9960500, 9960500, 877-996-1420, anywhere on Earth. Well, maybe not Afghanistan, but you can call us here if you're in the local area. And we have a caller. We'll take the caller rather than make them wait. Hi, caller, you're on.
Yes, hi. I had a question.
Go ahead.
I heard something on the news about the lunar eclipse.
Yes, there's a lunar eclipse coming up.
Yeah, it got cut off like right in the middle of
the news?
Yeah.
I'll talk about it a little bit later if you want. It's going to be a blood moon or a harvest moon. This is the last of a triad of 4 blood moons, and it's on a high Jewish holiday. There's a lot of significance to all these things happening, so it's glad that you inquired. We've been talking about it.
That's correct. I was wondering when to expect it over here at Dartmouth, Massachusetts.
Okay. Well, hopefully the skies are clear, and I'll talk about that. We'll get into that.
Sure thing.
A little bit later. So, but if you've been watching the moon, it's much closer to the Earth right now, and that's why it's going to be a blood moon. It's going to be very bright and very close to the Earth. Perigee, they call it.
Thank you, Ralph. Thank you for the call.
Yep, thank you for calling. Yep, bye-bye. Okay, that's a very good question that the caller brought up. We will get into that. And speaking about just what's happening around us, sunrise today was at 6:35. 6:35. Okay, we lost 7 minutes. 7 minutes is lost, gone to the south, gone to the southern hemisphere from last Saturday. In the evening, this is getting a little bit depressing. Sunset this evening will be at 6:34. 6:34. We lost 13 minutes from last Saturday in the evening. Total loss this week from last Saturday, 20 minutes of daylight is headed south. Okay? With the hummingbirds. My hummingbirds left already. They left on the 18th. Although I did see a straggler come to my feeder on 24th, day before yesterday. Just did a pit stop and took off. So they're pretty much gone except for a few heading from the north, heading south. But maybe you have experiences if you have a hummingbird feeder out there. I like watching those little guys. But they're gone, for the most part, until next spring, till next beginning of May. And that's a bit a way off, unfortunately. Okay. Today is a gorgeous day. Today would be absolutely spectacular if it was January, in my mind. If this was January and February weather, it'd be beautiful. What a paradise. But that's not reality around here. But anyway, back to some of the numbers here. We've got about 2 hours and 50 minutes left of daylight before we reach, of extra daylight before we reach bottom, before we reach our winter solstice. Okay? And we've lost 3 hours and 13 minutes of light has headed south, okay? Because now we're in our fall equinox. And in fall, darkness rules over light. And that'll continue on for a few more months. looking forward. Okay, so we've got about 2 hours and 50 minutes before we reach bottom, and that's on right about December 21st, just before Christmas, and we begin winter. And then winter begins, and we start to scratch our way back up. And those folks down in the southern hemisphere are enjoying their summer, and we're about to suffer our winter. Some people like winter. They're going to say they're going to enjoy their winter. Well, if you're of that mind, then God bless you. I'm not there. Definitely not there. But there you have it. Moonrise this evening will be at 5:45. 5:45 in the afternoon, okay? So there'll be some light in the sky when it takes place. About 45 minutes of light. If you're paying attention, you'll watch the moon rise. And the moon will set tomorrow morning at 4:35, Sunday morning, if you were early risers. And that ought to be interesting, because right now, if you get up real early for those early risers, if you've noticed in the eastern skies, you see a bright star. Well, it's not the star, it's the planet Venus. Venus is the third brightest object in our solar system. You got the sun, the moon, and then Venus. So in the morning, it's absolutely spectacular. It's been going on now for well over a week. So if that morning star, if you see bright, 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 well, that's the planet Venus that you see. And then we are heading towards our blood moon, or harvest moon, some call it. But this being as the last of a triad of 4 blood moons, hopefully we'll have clear skies, because the previous 3 we've had all clouds. And that's for the past, this will make a year coming up now. So, and this triad of 4 blood moons was right in the middle of it was a full solstice of the sun. So very unusual events taking place, and a lot of people around the world are very concerned about this last full blood moon and what's going to happen. They put a lot of prophecy into it. A lot of concern with world events that's taking place. A lot of people are kind of terrified about it. If you read into some of the newspapers around the world and articles, you don't hear it too much in mainstream America, because they're more interested in telling you other things. But there you have it. We'll talk about the blood moon as soon as I get to those pages. You can call us here, 9960500, 9960500. A lot of things happen in the car world. Of course, a lot of folks are reading about Volkswagen. It's what's happened with them and their software and their diesel engines and the way they were programmed. Quite ingenious, actually. I'm not saying I agree with it, but I have to admit that it's very ingenious engineering, where the cars, with having a logarithm in their software that kind of knew when it was being tested. And when it was being tested, it went into a mode of activating all the pollution control equipment so that the car would kind of pass the tests. But then when it was not being tested, it went back into a mode that gave it better efficiency as far as performance, fuel mileage, things like that. So it's quite ingenious how they engineered it. But the car, when it went back to its more powerful operating mode, in other words, it had better fuel mileage and better performance, they said it produced 35 times more emissions above the EPA limits. So that was a concern to, obviously, the EPA and the people who write these codes. So now they have a massive recall that's going to be coming up, and I'm sure massive lawsuits and all kinds of things happen until they work their way through it. But they're testing right now other manufacturers to see if they've done the same thing. So this could be a colossal problem for the auto industry. And unfortunately, it's kind of a setback for diesels. Diesels were making a comeback, making a comeback in America anyway, under the slogan of clean diesel. Somewhat an oxymoron, especially with these Volkswagen events coming up. So it's going to be interesting to see how it works out. We can talk about that. There's all kinds of articles on it. A lot of repercussions. Their stock is down. I think it lost 33% of value. Actually, probably a good if you're into the stocks and all that. Maybe it's worth buying right now. Volkswagen also was growing, and they were going to become the world's largest auto producer. They were on the heels of Toyota on a global basis. So, maybe this will spur them to get it down right and make these things run the way they should run, clean and efficient. The diesels do have some major advantages, and they have several disadvantages, one being noxious nitrous oxide, not nitrous, NOx, NX. It's an emission that they have a difficult time in controlling on diesel engines because of the high compression and high temperatures, the nitrous oxides. And that's the one they're having a problem controlling. The particulates, the soot, the fine soot. They've had filters that they've been able to clean them up quite a bit, if you've noticed, especially the big trucks. You don't see the black smoke coming out of these newer trucks like you used to. Sometimes you see some old equipment lumbering around the city and on the highways, and you see it puffing smoke. Those are the old engines still running, and they are significantly more inefficient in their use of the fuel, and far more polluting as well. But as they wear out, get old, they phase away. Although a lot of people, especially like if the truckies out there, they have these big Dodge pickups. A lot of them want to have all pre-2006, I believe it is, because they have a lot less emissions on them, and they can run high sulfur fuels. And there's a huge demand for them, and the prices on those things are very, very expensive when you see them as used diesel trucks, the ones with the Cummins diesels, and some of the old GM and Fords as well. So it's the guys out there know this, and they want to stay away from all these formaldehyde injectors, injections, and filters that catch the soot in the exhaust systems that are expensive to keep up and maintain, and do lower your fuel mileage and somewhat your performance. And the newer trucks, that's it. You have no choice. And that's why some of these guys keep these old horses running. Okay, here we go. Caller, very good afternoon to you.
Hey, comrade.
Comrade, how are you, Vladimir?
Not too bad.
Oh?
Hey, you're talking about Volkswagen. Isn't there 1 year, I can't remember which one it is, but you have to add some type of blue fluid into the exhaust for the diesels?
On Volkswagens?
Yeah, I think it's the Jetta. I think it's the 2011. They have in the trunk, if you lift the trunk, they sell a blue fluid. You have to pour it in. It actually mixes with the...
Okay.
It mixes with the exhaust.
Well, to clean up the
and
soot.
cleans the air as it comes out of the tailpipe. It's called exhaust fluid.
Really? Well, it's what, to clean it out, you mean? Almost like an injector type cleaner?
It's some type of, I forgot what the name of it they call it. It comes in like a 5-gallon thing, and you have a little spout in the trunk. You pour it in, and I believe it injects into the exhaust and mixes with the spent exhausts, and it breaks down the gases, and then it goes out the tailpipe. They call it exhaust fluid.
Really?
Yeah, but I think they only had it for maybe 1 or 2 years. But as a car owner, I call that a pain in the you-know-what.
Yeah, but...
because if you don't add that fluid, a sensor goes off on your dash and tells you to add the fluid, or it shuts the car down. You cannot drive it.
Really?
Yeah, it's pretty... I think they only used it maybe 1 or 2 years.
Yeah, I haven't run into that myself. We do work on some diesels. We're not heavy in diesels, but we do work on the little Volkswagens. And,
yeah, nice machine.
Yeah, it's a nice running little diesel, but they're getting tough on emissions, the NX, and also particulate matter, so the soot. And, I can respect that because I have asthma, and if I get behind, especially like a Ford diesel truck with the international engines, they're filthy.
Oh, yeah.
They're filthy running trucks, and you get behind it, and there could be 10, 15 cars ahead of me, and I could say there's a Ford truck ahead of me. They say, how the hell you know that? I said, I can smell it. They say,
yeah.
They say, you're nuts. I said,
Hey, when you're going down the highway and you get back behind a tractor trailer, you feel that kind of suction. It pulls you side to side.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, I passed some of these tractor trailers. They have those. Have you ever seen them on the trailer? It looks like a deflector on the side.
Yeah, it's like for the rain and all that. They have like a sheet hanging down of aluminum, right?
Yeah.
With some felt, but like a brush.
So that's not for, for like creating pressure when you get near the truck. It's for deflecting rain.
I think it's more for the rain and the splash up, and also probably it does affect maybe the aerodynamics of the truck and increases their fuel mileage.
Oh, okay.
Without having the axles drag as much, it kind of deflects the You know what I'm saying? That sheet of aluminum that hangs down.
Yeah.
And it has like brush hairs around it. You ever notice that?
Oh yeah.
And it's
that's not to clean the streets.
No, not to clean the street. But it's at an angle. Those sheets that you're talking about, they're not exactly in line with the truck body.
Yeah.
And I think it's probably to keep reduce the drag coefficient, and also keep the wind. If you're on a rainy day, it's just less billowing up of all the sheet rain coming off the truck when you pass it or come near it. That's what I've noticed.
So what's going on? Any car sales this week?
Well, we've been busy in car sales. Yes, we have.
Good.
So the problem is getting them ready and getting enough cars in, good cars.
Yeah, you going to retire pretty soon? Let your son take over the op?
Well, that's really a nice thought, but I don't think that's in my future at the moment.
Has he got enough under his belt?
Oh yeah, Andrew's certainly capable of running the place, and there's no question about that. Yeah,
good.
Absolutely. Yeah,
I want to see you on your riding mower in the yard and taking it easy. Maybe some golf.
No, I'm not a golfer. I'm safer with a gun in my hand than a golf club.
Nice.
And I'm not. That's not an exaggeration.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm really safer with a gun in my hand than a golf club. But no,
I hope you have a good, safe, healthy retirement, and don't stay in this business till you're 70.
Well, I don't know. The last several years have not been too kind in the auto industry to myself and others. It's been.
Well, the winters have been brutal too.
Yeah, it's been difficult to survive these economic. We are in a depression. No one wants to say that.
No.
It's like no one wants to say what's really happening, especially the politicians. Higher up the food chain. It's always, we have a mild recession, or we have a recession, or a great recession is the deepest they'll dive. But we're going to look back at this and say this is the second Great Depression of these United States in modern times.
Oh, yeah.
And
we know it because when you get to pay your sales tax and your payroll and your unemployment and all that other stuff, and then you have a little bit left over to maybe put a little butter on your spaghetti.
Yeah, wow. And, I hear where you're coming from, and I think it's going to get worse in that aspect before it gets better.
I agree.
There are so many unfunded contingent liabilities and liabilities that they're going to be held accountable for at the local, state, and federal governments that
even
going
some
to put a lot of pressure on a taxpayer. Even
some of these cities and towns, they're in big trouble. New Bedford's in big trouble too. I forgot they had like 480 separations of employment. I think they use Equifax in their payroll.
Yeah.
But they're in big trouble. The unfunded liabilities are just going to sink everybody.
Well, I think a lot of towns are, but I think New Bedford is in better shape than cities like Fall River. Fall River has a much deeper problem in that respect from my research. Of course, New Bedford's taxes are higher. They are extracting more out of us, and
you've got
pay for these
25% 501Cs, and all kind of dependent on a federal stipend, and that doesn't really help.
Oh, you're talking non-profits?
Yeah, non-profits. That doesn't help the residential base or the commercial base.
I mean, some non-profits do contribute to the community in a positive way. I mean,
right.
They're not all a drag, so to speak, and not all of them get that many stipends. Some of them have to write for grants and the grant money, and if they get it, fine. If they don't, they have to really go out there and do fundraising. Depends.
Right.
Some are more connected. I mean, those that distribute methadone and all that, for the drug problem out there, they're underwritten by the state at a much deeper level. Yeah, no questions about that.
Yeah.
But because we do have a huge opiate problem. Well, we have a huge drug problem, legal prescription problem as well. I mean, it's the whole country's out of balance.
I have some friends up in Maine and Augusta and Portland. It's out of control with the overdoses.
Yeah, but see, people look at the drug, but it goes to show you how sick our society is.
Well, I forgot what they said they're putting in it. Some kind of I forgot what they're cutting it with. Painkillers or something. I don't know, but I guess they're cutting the heroin with like some type of I don't know. I'm not into that stuff, but
caller, they just called on the line. Forgive me, I hit the wrong button and cut you off. Call me back. I'll put you on hold. I'm sorry.
No, I'm still here.
No, this is another caller. They were just calling in, so I went up there and my finger slipped.
if you're hooked on the stuff and you know you have people dying all around you, I don't think I'm going to want to do that same thing. But now you have these junkies saying, well, if I start to go, they'll help me out. But now they're overwhelming the services to folks that are productive members of society. Now they got to bring in ambulances from all out of towns, and it's a burden on society.
Oh, a huge burden on society.
You know,
but it shows you how sick our society is because it's at all income levels. You know, I mean, obviously.
Look at our DCF out of control. I mean, you ever met a social worker? Oh,
sure.
Some of them are nuts.
Well, they're burnt out. You mean they're burnt out?
Yeah, they're all burned out.
Yeah.
They need a shrink. You ever meet a shrink and a social worker in Massachusetts?
Well,
holy mackerel!
Well, you know, we need huge reforms in our society. There's no one simple answer. You know, we subsidize a lot of inappropriate behavior, and now we have the results of it. So we have to deal with it.
I agree. Very well spoken.
Yeah. In the past, families were together. Now you get a bitch with your wife or your husband. You break up. To hell with him. To hell with her, and they break up. And the kids are just baggage, and you know, it's a different world we're in. This is the morals we're pushing now. So, and we're reaping the results of this. And you can say that as an agnostic. We don't have to get religious about this. You know, in life you reap what you sow, and you can be an atheist. It doesn't matter. These are natural laws. So, well, I got to let you go. We got callers here I got to get to.
Hey, peace, brother.
Yep, thank you. Yep, bye-bye. Very good afternoon to you, caller.
Hey, good afternoon.
Hey, Jay, how are you?
Okay. Have you heard about the latest proposal by, I don't know what state legislature has proposed it, but it's to put a GPS device on every vehicle so that they can track your mileage and charge you according to how many miles you drive at inspection time.
Absolutely, yeah, I've heard about this. Yeah.
You heard about that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Now, supposedly, they're supposed to get rid of the gas tax by doing this.
I frankly wouldn't hold your breath on that one.
No, that's what I say. I don't think they're going to get rid of the gas tax.
No.
I think they're going to keep the gas tax.
Yeah, what in Massachusetts, it shouldn't even be a thought in your head that they would, even reduce it. And well, maybe they'd have to do that as a compromise. Knock off the 3 cents they just banged us with 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, and then say, well, we're going to bill you now based on how many miles you drive every time you go in for an inspection sticker. And now, if you don't go for an inspection sticker, instead of a $50 fine, it'll be a $500 fine to really wake you up because you're beating the system.
Not only that, but they can keep track of where you drive to.
Oh yeah, that's they're threading the needle here, Big Brother.
And, of course, they won't get rid of the gas tax, so...
This goes beyond the tax, though, Jay. We're starting to talk about civil liberties now. You know what I mean? It impinges on our right of mobility, right of moving around, because now they can track... But they say, what do you got to worry about unless you're doing something wrong?
Yeah, sure.
That's what always they say. But if you're a person of interest, I'm seriously concerned about our civil liberties in this country. Everybody wants to know your business. Every time you go someplace, they have to have your license number, your social security number, and if you don't plug into the system, you got a problem. I mean, we're losing so many of our freedoms in this country.
Well,
a lot of us willingly accept it because we're too bloody stupid to realize what's happening.
I think what people should do before this gets formulated into the legislature as any sort of bill, because right now it's just an idea, contact your rep and state senator and tell them anybody who votes for anything of this nature gets thrown out of office.
Well, there's a test. See, the states are laboratories for a lot of, social policy in the country, and now, of course, the Supreme Court has now become the new Facebook, if you will, of social policy. in recent times anyway. But Oregon, I believe, is implementing a tax based on the mileage you drive. Might have to look into it, but I've read that Oregon is in the process or already has it in operation.
Well, in Oregon is voluntary so far.
As far as the mileage?
People have actually volunteered to have their mileage measured so they can be taxed on it.
Oh, so
that's why it's called the People's Republic of Oregon.
Well, it's voluntary. Well, it starts
right
off...
now it is.
Yeah.
It's a voluntary program that was instituted by the state. Eventually, it'll become mandatory.
Well, I mean, we have a problem in a sense that as cars become more efficient and we're buying less gas, we're paying less taxes to fix the roads and bridges. So, I mean, any thinking person would say, well, I'm a kind of an infrastructure guy. I don't have a problem paying taxes. I get frustrated when I drive through the city of New Bedford when I see the traffic now is doubled, I would say, in 10 years easily, or pretty darn close. And, I go to get off at exit 4, and I have to slam my brakes on because it's backed up to the highway, and the traffic lights aren't, properly cycled, and all this. It's a disaster, and there's no turns on Church and Talking Hill, and arrows to turn. It's just we're so under capitalized on traffic improvements, and I know it's a resource issue. So any thinking person understands we'd have to make some changes. But
well, the thing is, even if they did that in Massachusetts, if they managed to get that through somehow, plus the gas tax.
Yeah.
What do we have to show for it? The roads are in miserable condition. Isn't the gas tax supposed to be to fix roads?
Yes.
Yeah.
Roads and,
well, instead of throwing it in the slush fund, which I believe is what they're doing.
Well, some of it, I understand, goes under mass transportation as well.
Oh, you mean the MBTA, the Broken Railroad?
Yeah. Some of it goes in there. I think a penny or something. I forget what it was when I last researched it. And I mean, we are taxed in ever so many other ways, and permitted and feed and everything else. And what happens is when you have to support so many other people at all levels, and the burden it becomes oppressive. Now, and we don't have the resources to make an economy vibrant, a city desirable with good infrastructure, good parks, make the city attractive, clean, minimal crime, with a good, well-funded police force. And you need a good education system, too, to be fair. You have to educate kids. But, we have so many cross currents when we have so many illegals coming in or into the country. We're forced to educate. So
you think it's bad now,
we're not supposed to call them illegals now, right? We're supposed to call them undocumented. I'm sorry.
No, forget them.
Well, but I mean, we're forced to carry them.
That are going to come in.
Oh, we've got 100,000 plus coming, yeah.
Probably, which means 200,000.
But Jay, we did create a problem too. Our foreign policy has really created so many problems worldwide, created so many refugees, not to mention we've killed hundreds of thousands of people with these two wars, undeclared wars we've just had. 1 million in Iraq, hundreds of thousands in Afghanistan. Not the bad guys now, good people, innocents. So just not talked about. So, and now...
Well, while that may be true, at the same time, we've also contributed more foreign aid to some of these people than any other country.
Yes and no. It depends how you define foreign aid. A lot of our foreign aid is military advisors, guns, rockets, military assistance. That's our foreign aid. And our foreign aid as a percentage of our GDP is one of the lowest of contributions. As far as humanitarian aid, let's rephrase it, because foreign aid can mean it encompasses, like I said, military equipment as well as it could be bags of rice. So if you put it down on humanitarian aid, I believe we're one of the lowest contributors as a percentage of our GDP in the world. Now, the number's big, but the percentage of the GDP is small. Compared to Sweden, let's say, that's more socially progressive, okay?
Before the quote-unquote refugees come in, the law should be changed, because as a refugee, you're entitled to instant benefits.
Yes, you are.
Without even
but they're
checking.
entitled, even the ones who come here illegal. Oh,
Well,
I'm sorry.
we know that. But
Undocumented. They come over here.
sometimes it's a little bit harder for them to come in to get benefits.
Not in
much
Massachusetts.
harder, but a little bit harder.
I think our taxes went up like last year primarily because they had to open up so many new kindergartens for all these kids coming back into New Bedford from Guatemala. We had to educate. It increased our costs significantly. I think that's not really being discussed or as much publicly as it should be. But, I feel sorry for these kids. Maybe we should just stop creating, having this empire of military bases around the world and start go to Guatemala, help build some schools for them, get them with those kids a shot. We're pissing away the hundreds of billions, trillions worldwide already. So, look at Afghanistan. We got an opiate problem in this country. How come all the poppy fields are still growing more opiates there now than ever?
Because the people in Afghanistan who are now in charge,
well, to a degree, yes,
are corrupt.
Well, yeah, listen, there's corruption in every society, including our own.
I know, but it can be kept down to a minimum if you really try. Oh, the excuse that the current excuse is that if you force the farmers in Afghanistan to grow as food instead of opium, they wouldn't be able to make as much money, and they would hate the Americans. Well, I got news for you. They hate the Americans already.
Well, this is one time that Monsanto could shine, come back with their Agent Orange. We could defoliate all those opiate fields, pay the farmers, pay them $10,000, which would be like giving you or me $1 million in this country, and then make sure that their mullahs don't, you have to probably pay them in little spurts because if they got all that money at once, they'd probably be murdered for it by their mullahs in their districts where they live. Their society is totally different. Take ourselves back a minimum 500 years, and then you understand what you're dealing with. 500, probably 1,000, and that's what you're dealing with. And but I think if you look at it geopolitically, I think there's more Machiavellian views out there. In other words, if we leave the opiates to be grown and they're a major source of heroin and opium and hash in Afghanistan, well, it's right beside Russia. They have so many drug addicts in Russia. It weakens Russia. You don't think that these guys don't think this way? And they say, well, yeah, we have a problem in our country, but we can deal with it more. We can deal with it better than they can. So, sometimes you look at these think tanks and how they think. You'd be amazed. You got to think out of the box sometimes the way they think, and you become very cynical when you see how they think. Or you don't become, but you understand how to become cynical. Let's put it that way.
Well, I don't think I have to become cynical. I'm already there, so.
No, be an optimist. We're alive. The sun's shining, and you can't change the world. Change yourself. That's what counts. Start with yourself.
The world is fine, and as I've said to many people, if I ever shake hands with a politician, the first thing I will do right after is count my fingers.
Well, listen, politicians are necessary in the fact that they create a society, help create a society of government that allows us to hopefully prosper. There's systems and regulations, and there's supposed to be some fairness there. It's not always the case, but in our experiment, the American experiment, we hope that and our politicians are like us. They're not perfect. They represent us to a degree, and our part of society, so they're going to have all the shortcomings and frailties that we experience with our neighbors. Not you and I, of course, but our neighbors. And
personally, I think the only politician you might have a bit of control over is your city councilor. Anybody after that, you can forget it.
Well, that's a good thought in the sense that the further government gets away from we the people, the less control we have over it. And that's why local government we have much more control, and state to a degree, and federal much to a lesser degree. And that's what concerns me with more and more of federal enactments to reduce our civil liberties, take away our rights to own guns, take away our economic opportunities to transfer funds. Everybody wants to know where it's going. If you're really paying attention to what's happening, it's concerning. Any attorney out there who's into civil liberties, obviously is aware of this to a very high degree. And you don't have to be an attorney to be aware of what's happening, okay? I mean, they're in the law, so they read these laws maybe a little more closely than the average citizen. But the average citizen is watching TV, watching some sitcom. He's not paying attention.
Exactly.
But unfortunately, in our country here, the flea is getting larger than the dog.
Yes.
Okay, so there's going to be a point where the flea can't be fed anymore because the dog's going to be very sick or dying.
Yeah.
And we're the dog. So I hate to put that's my crude analogy, but
no, it is a crude analogy, but it's true.
The flea is getting larger. There's a lot of fleas getting larger than the dog. So
the day you have more people collecting than more people working, you're done.
Yeah. Well, what concerns me is that a lot of folks on Social Security, Medicaid, we're at a conundrum now, and Greenspan said it rather upfront and candid when he was interviewed back, I think it was a decade or so back, saying that the federal government could meet its Social Security and Medicare benefits. Social Security in particular, though, it's just that it's going to be, you'll get your payment, but it'll be worth so much less. It'll be that you're going to still be in dire straits. So because of inflation, and that's what they're doing. So,
right.
Have they announced what the Social Security benefit increase will be this year?
I don't think there is any.
So they're going to pass another year here. They did a couple of years ago. They passed 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
And now this year, they officially announced they're not going to have a Social Security benefit increase? Well,
not officially,
it's a moot subject anyway, because they'll come out and say, well, because inflation has been so tepid because of our economic vigilance, that we're going to only allow a 0.5% increase in Social Security. So this reduces the burden substantially to the government. And then in reality, when you go to Market Basket, Stop and Shop, or wherever you go to get your food, you say, what the hell's going on here? Prices are going up, and in fact, it's getting tougher to make ends meet. And that's what they do. This is nothing new. In recent, you like to read books. You remember the Weimar? I can't speak to my allergies.
Weimar Republic.
Right. My allergy. Forgive me. My allergies.
The republic that was in before Hitler took over.
Correct. My allergies are killing me today, Jane. I'm having a hard time breathing, but my the ragweed's killing me. But the Weimar Republic before Nazi Germany, what do they do to get out of their problems?
They printed new money.
Correct. And what are we doing?
Printing money.
Correct.
I saw a documentary once where they had people about the Weimar Republic. Workers used to have to take a suitcase to work with them 3 times a week to get paid. They got paid 3 times a week.
Yeah.
The money was worthless. Yeah. One guy went to a store. He had a wheelbarrow full of money, literally a wheelbarrow. He left it outside to go see if the store had any eggs. When he came out, somebody had stolen the wheelbarrow. It was worth more than the money that was in it.
Yes, the realities. Yeah. And that's why despots like Hitler came to power.
And this is how Hitler gained popularity.
Yeah. Well, we're in a, we're going to be in the same, we're heading in, we're in the same boat. Not the same boat, but we're in the same course as that boat, okay? Metaphorically. I got to let you go. I got some other calls.
Have a good one.
Thank you. Very good afternoon to you, caller.
Yes. Good afternoon, Ralph.
Whoa. Got to cover that microphone, brother. You're out in the wind.
What's that?
Got to cover that microphone. You're out in the wind. I got to get out. Okay. Ted, say what you got to say, because if that wind hits it, I can't hear you.
Yeah, I just want to tell people that there's a 2-day encampment at Fort Phoenix.
Oh, okay.
We're going to be firing the cannons tonight at dusk.
Okay, Bobby.
Okay?
Okay, so you're down in Fort Phoenix right now.
Right.
Oh, Fairhaven now. Fort Phoenix, Fairhaven.
Fairhaven, right. We're having a 2-day reenactment, and tonight we'll be firing the cannons, the 5 cannons, the Civil War cannons up there.
What time?
Just before dusk, probably around 6:30.
How much powder you put in them?
Not quite 2 pounds.
Oh, really? That much? Black powder?
Black powder, right.
So
we're not shooting they're 24-pound cannonballs, so we're not shooting any cannonballs. If we were shooting a cannonball, we'd have 8 pounds of powder in there.
Wow. What if somebody put a 2-pounder in there or something?
No, that would be too dangerous. Well,
yeah.
Anyway.
It should right over to Quidnick Street or something. Jesus.
Yeah.
Help to pay. All right. Well, that sounds like fun. What times the cannons go off? Sunset?
About 6:30 tonight, they'll be going off.
Okay, so just before sunset.
Just before sunset, so it gets the maximum effect.
Fort Phoenix tonight.
Flame out.
This is Civil War.
No, Revolutionary War.
Okay.
But the cannons are actually Mexican Civil War.
Okay.
Those are not Rev War cannons up there.
Okay. So. Well, yeah, I know you're the local historian when it comes to that.
Right. Yeah, between here and Fort Taber with the stone fort over there and the museum.
Yeah, I know. Bob, you do a good job.
I have to stay on my toes here.
Yeah, do a good job.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Pass the word. Mention it a couple of times.
All right.
We're down here at Fort
That'll
Phoenix
remind me.
Okay.
My sinuses are killing me. All right, thanks. Bye-bye. Very good afternoon to you, caller.
Hello, Ralph. Thanks for taking the call. Just hopefully quickly.
Yeah, go ahead.
How are emissions tests done now? My car is so old it's grandfathered. I don't even have to do them anymore. Although mine is good. How are they done now? My guess is you just bring in. My understanding is that since 2002, all cars had to be made with some kind of a tap in. That was a sensor.
Well, yeah, they
and you could just electrically the tester would just electrically plug into it and he'd immediately get the readings.
Well, they read your pollution devices, see if they're up and running and they're operating properly.
They read the pollution device.
Well, yeah, they see if your EGR is working, and it'll tell you if there's any codes. If your engine light's on, that's a flag for saying, hey, we got a problem here.
If they so the engine's reading it all the time, and then the test will show the test tap in will show whether any of the things the engine is reading is wrong or wrong.
Right, that the engine devices are all doing what they should be doing.
I see.
Yeah, and you can have one down, but was it one down, but not two of the devices. They get a sticker.
I see.
So
it's a. Now, is that done stationary, just with the engine running, and is it done at a range of speeds?
No, they used to have a dynamometer. They no longer do that.
They don't even do that.
No,
I remember the rolling chain.
Too many problems. That's when we didn't do that. We got out of that. That was just drastic.
They don't have to do that anymore. It's all done electrically. Tapping in. And is it done stationary though, with just the? Yeah,
the car's parked.
Cars parked. Yeah, they don't even do a range of speeds.
Nope.
They just check to see if any of those. Well, right, the lights would come on and they would stay on if at any speed it was testing wrong. Right.
Correct.
So therefore it would be red. I see. So. And the obvious question is, how did the Germans get around that? Did they shift it to a different system as soon as they?
The software, very sophisticated software. Cars now are becoming computers more than they are mechanical.
Right.
And the software on board had logarithms, and these logarithms would watch and see. They would watch the different car. For instance, they watched the steering wheel. If the steering wheel was not being moved around much, it figured the car was on a test stand. And the computer figured the car was on a test stand. So the car would call in all its pollution devices. So it was being tested, the car would test and pass. But then when it went back on the railroad, it went back to what its original program was, to run better, get better mileage, better performance, and it knocked off a lot of the pollution devices.
So they put in a different program.
Well, it was all part of the same program, but it was a little sub area of the program which was smart.
They could opt out. I thought it might be just as simple as when it was being.
Well, I'll tell you, Volkswagen.
When it was being read, they switched to a different fuel system and a more efficient burn somehow. No.
Well, in a sense, they called in the pollution devices when the vehicle was not. The computer sensed that the steering wheel and other devices were not moving around much. It figured the car was stationary in a test mode.
That was
so then it was. The computer was paranoid. It would call in all the pollution devices and say, "Boys, do your job." And then, when it knew it was going back on the road, the steering wheel was moving, the brake was being hit and set and used, and it says, "Hey, I'm moving along. I'm being driven. I'm not being tested." Boom.
Right.
Put it back the way it should run. And that's essentially what happened. And I would think the engineer who did that, they say they want to give him criminal prosecution. But I'm sure somebody that bright to figure that out.
That wouldn't have happened unless it was company-wide to some degree.
Well, could have been in that little cell group there. Who knows? Yeah, it could be.
Wow. I'd be taking quite a risk.
Well, maybe he'll get a hell of a good position at NSA. Think about it.
Maybe.
He might get a good job at NSA.
Well, that's I hate to say it, but maybe for future reference. I don't know. We'll hope not.
Yeah.
Thanks.
No, the system's pretty evil. This guy's real bright. We need him to write some programs for us. So the systems, you don't think that'll happen if this guy come up with a new method of doing it, or guys or girls, guys who put this together?
Right.
Trust me.
Yep.
The NSA will be after him. Or maybe what's the new version of the Stasi?
Yeah. It's unbelievable.
All right, comrade, I got to let you go.
Everything. Everybody knows everything, and I guess we have to put up with it.
No, you don't. Fight like hell.
Right, yeah.
Because when we're gone, these kids here, it'll be over. Got to go.
Yeah.
News is coming.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Stay with us. All About Cars. This is About Cars. We'll talk about cars when we come back for the second hour of All About Cars with Ralph Medeiros from Ralph's Auto Center in North End of New Bedford. Hi, folks. Welcome back to the second hour of All About Cars. My name is Ralph Medeiros. I own and operate Ralph's Auto Center in the North End of New Bedford on Church Street, 867 Church Street, right off Exit 5 off of Route 140. Very easy to get to from north or south, east or west. It's virtually all highway, not a traffic light or a stop sign to get to the dealership. And there we sell quality used automobiles, pre-owned automobiles. And we pretty much keep our price of the cars we sell between $4,000 and $15,000. We do sell cars that cost considerably more, but for the normal stock, the majority of the stock, it's between $4,000 and $15,000. With the nicer cars, obviously run around the mid mark of $7,500ish in that ballpark for something decent, quality used car that's been serviced out. But they're all over the place depending on the year and the equipment, and if it's all-wheel drive or front drive or what have you, 4x4. But we have all kinds of machines there to pick from. And we help you arrange financing mostly through local credit unions here to keep the payments down in order if you have half-decent credit. And this way you don't have a massive car payment coming to you. In many cases, people's cable bills, incredibly enough, are higher than their car payment. You can believe that. It's just nuts what's happening out there. But you got to pay for those Comcast corporate jets. Don't forget that. But and also pay for these actresses and actors and all the fees, and they live a good life and a high life. So it's in the rates. It's in the rates. Kind of like when you go to a baseball ticket now. Go take your kids up there. Buy a hot dog and a soda and buy the tickets and all that. You're out $300-400 plus park the car for another $50. Everything's out of whack in relation to the working person. But they don't care as long as they're taking the dough in. But anyway, we service all kinds of makes and models of cars. We do all services virtually. If it's something we don't handle, we tell you right up front. Obviously, we don't do warranty work if you're still under warranty. If we see a problem and it's warranty related, like emissions or something like that, we'll send you back to the dealer. With the, we look it up on our computers and we can tell you what is and what isn't covered. We do oil changes from $19.99 using a semi-synthetic oil with a new filter. That's 5 quarts of semi-synthetic oil and a new filter for $19.99 plus tax and disposal. We also do synthetics. Synthetic oil changes generally start under $50 to do, and if you have a high specification car like Mobil 1 or something like that, it would run you a few bucks more. And if you want to go into a higher specification filter, they have different grades of filters you can go into. So depending on your needs and how you use your car and what kind of car you have, it may determine that as well. But we do offer you those choices. And we always put the correct viscosity. We always look it up to see what your car takes. If it's not marked, obviously, on the engine. We never put a viscosity that's not recommended by the manufacturer. A lot of places put in what they've got because they don't have much as far as choices of oils. They'll have 1 or 2 brands. We do stock the majority of all the different viscosities. If we don't have it, we get it. We always put the proper specification in the automobile. So it's the engineers figured it out. And most of those guys have masters or PhDs, and they know what they're doing in the mechanical side of the equation anyway. But, as well, we do also do undercoating. For you fellas out there with trucks, if you're going to protect your truck going into winter, it's a very wise idea to undercoat your truck or even your car, because salt and rust is a significant problem, especially on trucks. Anything with and Suburbans and those kind of vehicles, that's a truck frame. Anything with a body-on-frame mount is prone to more excessive rust than a unibody. That's not to say unibodies don't rust, because they do. But pickup trucks and things like that, the salt and sand, salty sand, gets embedded in the little cracks and crevices, and it just sits there, kind of like, well, it's kind of like when you need a ring ding and you don't brush your teeth. You get cavities. Remember that? Well, that's what happens to your car. It gets corrosion and rust on the frame and floorboards, and it's a problem. Problem too, like my son called it to my attention. I wasn't aware of it, talking to me about certain Nissan products have floorboards rotting out and holes in them, and Maximas and things like that, and it's a real problem. And those cars, they should definitely be undercoated if you have one. So undercoatings, if you're going to keep your car for more than 3 years, it's certainly money in the bank. It'll keep the car, generally speaking, in much better condition through our winters and salt. And a lot of people think, well, they're not putting salt on right now, but the roads are coated with it, and it stays on the black top, and it gets on your car, and it just sits there, and you get dampness in the morning, and it just creates electrical currents that increase the electrolysis that creates the corrosion. Okay, kind of like how a battery works. So it's something to consider. We do undercoating with a resin-based. It's like it's a solvent-based undercoating. It never really gets hard, doesn't crack or anything like that. It stays pliable under cold temperatures. And we do fluid film, which is kind of like a advanced cosmoline. Some guys prefer that. That's less dough. Needs to be freshened up every 3 years, depending on how you use it, but it's worth considering. We also do car detailing. If you need, I have Ronnie Pacheco as our car detailer there. He's meticulous, does a very, very good job. And if you want your car detailed, it's a gift for someone. We're coming into the holiday seasons, birthdays, what have you. You should give us a call. We're very competitive on that. Detailing, it's a trade within its own right. Very hard to find good detailers out there. But you should give Ulysses, the service manager, give Ulysses Santiago. Some people have a hard time remembering Ulysses' name. I just say, well, who's on a $50 bill? And remarkably enough, a lot of people don't know what president is on a $50 bill. And it's not because they haven't seen a $50 bill. They just don't know who our presidents are. They don't know our history. And they don't know when he was president. That's a whole different subject for another time. But anyway, Ulysses Santiago is a service manager. If you want to have your car detailed, give him a ring up at 998-1141 and during Monday through Friday, and he'll book an appointment with Ron Pacheco to do the detailing on your car, or your friend's car, your sweetheart's car, whomever's car. And we can get you in a scheduled appointment. That's only by appointment for obvious reasons, because it does take some time, and he's always kind of booked up. But if you have a problem with your engine, transmission, electrical, we get into all that. We try to help you. We do a lot of restorative type maintenance. We don't just replace all kinds of parts. We just do what's necessary. And we'll also kind of MacGyver some repairs sometimes if it can be done safely and save you money, and then keep you off the rocks and put you back out on the road, and life goes on. And we had a lady, Barbara, who had a problem with her exhaust pipe there on her car, and the pipe was kind of expensive, a foreign car, and we had gotten the pipe, and when we looked at it closely, when we were going to replace the pipe, we found out we could weld it and patch it up, and it lowered our bill substantially. We have a TIG welder, and we TIGged it, and it saved her, reduced her bill by 2/3. So we do those kind of things, and a lot of folks are retired on fixed incomes, and it makes a difference. It makes a difference. We only do what's necessary. So if if you have a car, if you don't have a car, refer people to us. We definitely appreciate that. Like that lady referred a young man to us for work, and we appreciate things like that. People helping us out, and we try to help out as well by returning the favor in some way to show thanks. But and as I mentioned before, if you're in the market for a car, go by and see Andrew. He can help you. If you're selling a car, you've got an extra car in the family you don't need, you've inherited it, someone passed away, whatever the circumstances, an estate or something, and you want to just turn it to cash. We've been involved in many kind of situations like that, and we can help you and guide you through the process. And you don't have to have, some people, if you ever put something on Craigslist or something like that on the internet, and you see the people that show up or call you and want to show up at your house, a lot of people are a little concerned about that, and for obvious reasons. You have strangers come into your house. You don't know who these people are, and they're snooping around your house, and it's just there's all kinds of. Just go on the internet. You'll be up all night reading about people who've been ripped off by people coming to the house and seeing what you got around, and a lot of people don't like that experience. And today you can never be too sure. So we're your firewall in those situations. We can help sell that car for you, and we get a fair price, which neutralizes our fees, and very often you're going to end up in a better situation, and you don't have to deal with the hassles, the paperwork, and all that. And if the person who wants to buy your car has a trade, we can take their car in trade or liquidate it right there on a spot, and it facilitates the sale for your car. Or if they need financing and they're credit worthy, we can make those arrangements and help them. So there's no excuses in trying to make the sale happen. Okay, so we've been involved in all kinds of situations, and we can help you through that. It gets a little bit dicey if you have a car that you or a family member can't afford, and you have a big mortgage on it, a big bank note on it, and you got to sell it because it gets a little more complicated because you can't. You got to pay off that loan before you get the title, and very often you're negative equity or you're upside down, as they say, and somebody has to pay for that upside downness. Okay, kind of like the country is right now. Who's going to cover this upside downness? And it comes out of the people. It's going to come out of your pocket or whoever's car it is, and very often they don't have the money, so the end result is the car is repossessed. So it's unfortunate. But these are the realities of business and life as it exists. But and also we have, with the holiday season coming, and if you have somebody with a birthday, we have a great stock of radios. We sell them all at a discount just to foster AM radio, because I do love radio. And some great deals on radios. They start at only $60 for a super advanced little pocket radio that's really neat. Comes even with a set of earphones. And it has pre-select buttons on it. Real high-tech radio. Simple to use, though. You don't have to be a computer scientist to figure it out. But it's $60. A nice tabletop analog, very simple, with a nice blue light LED. Works on batteries or plug in the mains for $75. And they have a shortwave for just over $100. And a nice instrument tabletop, top-of-the-line tabletop radio. Their flagship, which runs around $150. They sell it for about $175 or $180 delivered. I forget what it is, but all the ones I order them in cases, so I get a much higher, a good discount, and on the shipping, because the shipping is what really kills you. But generally, all the prices I've got are definitely below where you're going to buy them on the internet for new, not rebuilt or fixed units. These are all new units out of the box, made by Chinese people in China who build them for us and ship them here. We used to do them here, but those days are gone. Ring me up here, 9960500, and we can talk about whatever's on your mind. I was going to play a tune, but let me clear this call here. This person's been waiting very patiently. Hi. Very good afternoon to you, caller.
Yeah, hi, Ralph. Norm here.
Hey, Norm.
Hey, I'm calling. I got to ask you a question. Do you guys install the spray-in bed liners?
We don't spray in bed liners. That's a different system. We do the undercoating, which is underneath the car. The spray.
No, I'm familiar with both processes.
Okay.
So we just put a utility bed on one of our pickups, and I was thinking I'd like to have it sprayed with a bed liner. So that's why I was going to ask you.
Yeah. But you want the sprayed-in epoxy bed liner. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, like a rhino lining or equivalent.
Yep, I know what you're talking about. Yep. That's a different chemical than we use underneath the car.
Right. No, yeah, I'm familiar with what you use underneath, but I didn't know if you guys did the spray-in bed liners.
No, we're not. That's you gotta. We've looked at that, but it's a whole different setup, and you got to be geared up. Everything's a system nowadays, and
everything's different. The other question I have for you.
Yep.
A Porsche. My daughter bought a Porsche. I went to check the oil, can't find the dipstick.
Right.
So you only can go by the check engine and light or the lights on the dash.
Well, yeah, you got to.
Well, you've got to have the computer.
Right. You got to plug in. Correct. You got to plug in.
Now, do you folks, are you got the computers geared up for something like that?
I think mine. I'd have to check to see if my program includes Porsches. I believe it does.
Okay, so we can send your car here for an oil change then.
Yeah, call Ulysses. He can tell you, or we can check it for you. I'm pretty sure My Snap-on scanner does include that software.
Cool.
So,
well, we looked into a scanner for one of our Caterpillar machines, and you got to buy the program from Caterpillar every 6 months. Even though you have the computer, you got to buy the program every 6 months. It's cheaper to go bring the machine to them.
Well, yeah, that's how they get you.
Yeah,
that's how they get you. The software now is becoming a real issue in the marketplace, and access to it. Who has it? Cars now are becoming virtually computers that control mechanical devices. So we're entering a whole new world here. Whole new world.
That's why I like the old stuff. As long as we can get the parts, keep it running.
Well, that's it. Especially like now the diesels, they're coming down hard on diesels like they are on coal plants because of the emissions. You know.
Well, I was listening this week, of course, about Volkswagen with their emissions problems.
Yep.
All they do is have to retrofit them like the pickups and put the fluid in. We call it urea fluid. And all they have to do is retrofit them so it sprays into the exhaust.
Well, it's going to be
neutralize the emission.
Yeah, it's going to be an expensive situation for them.
Well, yeah, the CEO, he resigned this week after, I guess, pressure from what happened.
Yeah, that's he supposedly. I kind of believe. I don't think he knew at his level, but I'm sure the engineering department, the people who write the software, they knew what was going on.
You're probably right, But when you are at the top, you're the guy who takes the heat because your name's on the top.
Yeah, well, presidents don't do it though, do they? Well, I guess when you think about it, I look back. You're old enough to remember when Nixon resigned, right?
Yes.
He resigned for, when you think about it, for a lot lesser reasons than some of the stuff that's happened in recent time.
Oh, no kidding. I mean, the whole world is, if you think about it, is going buggy. I mean, things that we would never want to see happen today, like it's commonplace. And that the integrity of the people, and then the next generation and the next generation follow with the same integrity. Yeah. I think about Mark Twain when he said 100 years ago, we have the best Congress that money can buy. It still rings true today.
Yeah. Well, look at the deal. Look at a recent history on the Obama administration with the former Attorney General with the thousands of guns he sent over the border with a false flag event to show that guns were leaving America, when in fact it was the government selling them over there to drug cartels, and it blew up, and the government was doing a false flag event to blame, to take away our rights, to say, well, hey, see all these guns going over there illegally? Yeah, they were going over illegally, done by our government. No different than the night of the Long Knives when the Nazis, when all the brown shirts were killed by the Nazi hierarchy in Nazi Germany in 1934, I think. So it's interesting when you see history. So you have to be cynical, I have to say, when it comes to government. So, my friend, thank you for the call.
Well, no, thank you for letting me get my 2 cents in.
You're entirely welcome.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, we're going to play a couple of tunes here to cool the synapse and kind of just say goodbye to summer and try to embrace the fall and the coming weather. Here we go. I love this artist, one of my favorites. I play his stuff. It's just one of my favorite singers from the 30s.
Shoulder and sleep, close your eyes, and I will close mine. Close your eyes, let's pretend that we're both counting sheep. Close your eyes. Oh, this is divine music playing. Something dreamy for dancing while we're here romancing. It's love's holiday, and love will be our guide. Close your eyes. When you open them, dear, I'll be near by your side. So won't you close your eyes?
Your eyes. I'm going to play another tune part of the record here. The main part of the record is Al Bowley. I never had a chance. Never had a chance. As we say goodbye this summer. Here we go. I think we're queued up for that. Here we go. I like this tune too. Beautiful tune.
Your heart. My dream about romance ended in a friendly chat, but more than that, I never had a chance.
Al Bowley. You know, I do a lot of playing around, researching on music. Oh, by the way, I met Bobby Clark this week. Boy, what an experience that was. Bobby, if you're listening, you're a riot. and your lovely wife. My son and I went to appraise a car for Ed Sylvia, and I noticed this 49 Ford Woody being restored. And the guy says, "Hey, come on over, take a look at it." And my son and I walked over. Man, we walked into I thought it was in the Twilight Zone, the time tunnel. And boy, it showed me that Ford and some historical stuff on phones and things, the switching and all that. Man, I learned a lot. I have to say that was a fascinating 2 hours. I got killed when I went back to work. But I have to say, Bob, it was thoroughly entertaining. Really enjoyed it. Great time. And meeting your lovely wife as well. And seeing some of the equipment there brought back memories. It really did. Really, really did. All right, I digress. I was going to play some tunes here. King Oliver did a tune. I just want to play a few seconds of it. And this tune was, I don't know if you got, well, Matt, are we going to go that far back? You got Sidney Boucher there, right? Oh, you got King Oliver too. Boy, this guy's on the ball, I'll tell you. Matt's impressive. I'm going to play a little bit of King Oliver. King Oliver, this is a remarkable black man who came out of New Orleans, went to Chicago, he did some groundbreaking jazz. He's one of the early modern jazz artists, if you will. And he did some really groundbreaking work back in the 20s, early 20s, and into the early 30s. He died rather young. I think he died at 56, which was not uncommon in them days. But I think I've mentioned this before. He kind of mastered the use of mutes on the horns and give it a different flair. But he did a tune here. I'm going to play a little bit of, and then I'm going to play some Sidney Boucher, and then this song have this Sidney Boucher work, which is I love it. He did some great stuff. But this singer, after French singer, Danielle Daru, she's still living. She's 98. And then I did some research on her. I was amazed to see she's still living. And she's a good-looking lady. I mean, she's in her 90s, but she's still a remarkably good-looking woman. The French do age graceful. And then there's a modern artist who does it, a girl by the name of Jo Barber out of Canada, who sings in beautiful French, too. So it's interesting. We'll just play a few little tidbits. Matt will be going nuts here trying to figure this out, but I just want to get your thoughts on this. But here we go. We'll play a little bit of Sidney Boucher, and that's the kind of the foundation of the next song. Give you guys an education here of some early jazz. I'm sorry. Yeah, you're going to do King Oliver first. Yeah, my mind is not functioning properly today. Here we go. This is West End Blues, 1928. And listen to these horns there. The radio is just beginning. stuff now. We're going to come in with Sidney Bechet, and we'll play that tune. You can see the progression of the music. Now, he did this tune in 1954, but he also played it much earlier. He left the United States, and he was in France for a good number of years. He was a tough guy in his younger days. He went to jail a couple of times for getting in fights and all that in Europe. But in later life, he was much appreciated. Kind of like with some of the old artists. But here we go. We'll play a little bit. Notice the mutes. Sidney Bechet, who did some great work. Now we're going to come in with this remarkable woman who I guess if I was in Europe a lot, especially if I was French and spoke French fluently, which I did speak good French when I was a youngster. We used to have French in public schools. In New Bedford, I had 4 years of French. I spoke French quite well, as good as I spoke Portuguese. Now I don't speak either. That's a tragedy. But, well, that's what happens when you don't use it, you lose it. But this gal here, Danielle Darrieux, I don't know if I'm saying that properly, and I stand to be corrected, forgive me, D-A-R-R-I-E-U-X. Darrieux, I think. Marsha, if you're listening, I got to get back to you, Marsha. Thank you for seeing Andrew, if you're listening. I know you're into French music. She's a retired teacher. But here we go. We're going to play this. This lady now is still living. She was born in 1917. She's 98 years old. God bless her. And she's done all kinds of music and movies as well. Here we go. Same song.
J'ai caché mieux que partout ailleurs au jardin de mon cœur une petite fleur. Cette fleur, plus jolie qu'un bouquet, elle garde en secret tous mes rêves d'enfant, l'amour de mes parents et tous ces clairs matins faits d'heureux souvenirs lointains. Quand la vie par moments me trahit, tu restes mon bonheur, petite fleur. Sur mes 20 ans, je m'arrête un moment pour respirer ce parfum que j'ai tant aimé dans mon cœur. Tu fleuriras toujours au grand jardin d'amour ce présent que j'ai toujours gardé.
Okay, here you have Danielle Daru. She's 98 years old. She's been in hundreds of movies and music and done some great work. Matt's looking her up now, her background and her pictures. Matt, what do you think? Yeah, not bad. You're too young. Get closer to my age. Now, I'm going to play, and I got a caller. I'm going to take this caller, but I'm going to play this song. It's called Little Flower, and this gal's, her name is Jill Barber, and she was born in Nova Scotia, Canada. It's not a state. It's a part of it's a province in Canada, Nova Scotia. Matt's going to look that up. And this girl plays a modern rendition. This lady, now Jill Barber, is 35 years old. Of course, in Canada, they push bilingualism because obviously Quebec is French-speaking and the rest of Canada is pretty much English-speaking. So they have to learn both languages. But here we go, play just a couple minutes of her. And you can see the modern version here. This young lady now is just 35. Now, the woman singing previously, she was not 98 when she sang that, obviously, right? Okay. Hope you understand that. She's still living, though, and she is 98. Here we go. This is a Little Flower. That's the name of the song. Same song, though. Jill Barber, 35 years old. She now lives in Vancouver, BC, a beautiful city. I love that place. I think we've got it. Boy, Matt's working hard today. Oh, maybe he's... You got to find... Did I write it down wrong? God, don't tell me I messed up. Right there? That should queue up. I don't know. 2:42 on the time. Yeah, okay. This is a marvel of computers. And we'll find the tune. But I just... actually, she might have been on the same site as Danielle. Possibly. That's how I found her. But sometimes when you're looking up this music on the net, it's such a vast area. It's kind of like going into outer space and finding that speck of dust and bringing it to our ears or to our eyes, case may be, and listening to it. And sometimes I find a site or some information, then I want to go back to it and I can't find it because it's kind of like, it's almost sometimes like when you go to a library, if the book's put in the wrong, under the Dewey Decimal System, which I know is almost all but forgotten, but when you place a book on the wrong shelf, if you will, rack shelf, you could say it's almost lost forever unless you go do a hand inventory, but under the Dewey Decimal System was the way to kind of regulate it. Oh, he's on his site trying to find it. Well, while he's doing that, let me just... very good afternoon to you, caller. Thank you for holding.
Hi, Ralph.
Hi.
When's the last time you opened up the back of a not so old, but kind of old table radio and saw ever-ready batteries that had the cat jumping through the seat?
Yeah, I haven't seen that.
And they're not leaking.
Wow. That's been a while. I'll admit to that.
Yeah.
It's been a while, yeah.
Yeah. Right here by Plum Corner.
Wow.
There's a walk-through house sale, and I couldn't believe it.
What kind of radio?
Oh, gosh, they got everything there, and they...
What kind of radio?
They're about giving their stuff away. It's unbelievable.
What kind of radio?
I didn't recognize the name.
Okay. Well, yeah.
It's a wood thing. I don't know what it is.
Oh, okay.
It's only open at 4, and then it's gone. I'm going back because I don't need anything, but guess what? What a museum to walk through if you don't buy anything. Right there by the post office.
All right.
Unbelievable to see old stuff.
Yeah, that's nice. I like...
Oh, enjoy your music.
Oh, thank you. Okay, well, I'm going to try to find this. Matt's going crazy here trying to find this last song, but I find this stuff sometimes real late in the morning, so...
I'll listen to it going up.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye. Very good afternoon to you, caller.
Ralphie.
Hey, Billy, hold on a minute, buddy. Hold on. You're just in time to be too late. Hold on. Hi, caller, you there?
Why don't you look on the Le Petit Fleur? Maybe you'll find it.
Oh, okay. Maybe, yeah, that's a good idea.
There was also a clarinet version. I'm not sure if it was Acapulco, but there was a clarinet version of Le Petit Fleur.
Billy, I apologize. I disconnected you. Not you, sir, but Petit Le Fleur, did you... Yeah, you know what? Thank you, caller, because it was under Little Flower under that name, but we found it under the original title of the song, which you just said.
Right.
Are you familiar with this artist, Danielle? Excuse me. Which one have you got, Matt? Oh, you got Joe Barber. Have you heard a version of it?
I heard a clarinet version. It came out in the 60s, I think.
Right. I played Sidney Boucher, right?
It was an instrumental, though. Strictly instrumental.
Right. That's correct. Then I played Danielle Daru, who's the French singer who's 98. She wasn't 98 when she sang the version I just played. Now I'm going to play this version, a modern version done
I
by
got you on the phone. I got a question for you.
Go ahead.
Do you know anything about lawnmowers?
Yeah, go ahead.
I bought a brand new lawnmower, and it runs like crap.
Okay.
What do you think the problem is? And it's not the gas, because I've changed the gas 2 or 3 times.
What kind of lawnmower?
A Sears.
Okay, so is it a Briggs & Stratton engine, do you know?
Yes.
And it's, what's it, just up and down, idling wrong?
Right. Idles very rough.
And is it because did you just buy it, or you've had it for a couple seasons?
No, I just bought it.
Oh, you just bought it. It sounds like your carburetor could be out of adjustment at the very least. It's an overhead valve engine, do you know?
That I couldn't tell you.
Yeah. Probably carburetor related, I would dare say. These new engines are real finicky, and they're trying to change them where they pollute less, and what the EPA wants and what the engine wants are two different things. But you may want to. Are you familiar with engines at all?
No, not really.
Yeah. I mean, if it's easy to transport, bring it by the car, I'll listen to it, and see what my thoughts are. But it could be something, simple. The needle jet's clogged up or something, a little speck of dirt, and it's affecting the way it's idling. It won't idle properly.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I got you on the phone.
Yeah.
I won an oil change 2 or 3 years ago, and I asked you when I could use it, and you said any time. Does that still hold up? Even though I know it's been a couple of years since you've given away oil changes.
Is this Ed?
Yes. I remember.
Well, you're a music guy, so yeah. We'll honor it, Ed. You got me on the spot here in front of an audience of me and me and Matt and whoever's listening. So yeah, I'll honor it. I'll keep my word. You know what? We'll keep our word. Bring it by, Ed. We'll hook you up, okay?
Okay, thanks a lot.
All right. Thank you, and we'll play that tune.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Good to hear from Ed. I haven't heard from him in a while. Eddie, good to hear your voice, sir. Billy, call me back. You got disconnected. I hit the wrong button. Sorry. Here we go.
Qui borde les chemins se fanaient toute main, je garderai au cœur celle qui s'allumait dans tes yeux lorsque je t'aimais tant au pays merveilleux de nos 16 printemps. Petite fleur d'amour, tu fleuriras toujours pour moi. Quand la vie par moments me trahit, tu restes mon bonheur, petite fleur. Sur les 20 ans, je m'arrête un moment pour respirer ce parfum que j'ai tant aimé. Dans mon cœur, tout fleurira toujours au grand jardin d'amour.
Sultry voice of Joe Barber, and her music is, obviously all over the place now. She's a modern artist. She's only 35 years old, but she has a nice sultry, sexy voice, as does Danielle, the gal before. But it goes to show you how they take the songs from the past and they built on, King Oliver's music. He was a kind of a groundbreaking guy in the modern jazz world. And then Sidney Bechet, after that, had built off King Oliver's groundbreaking use of mutes and made his way. Then sang by Danielle, a modern version in French. And then here again, a more modern, contemporary version right now by this young lady. Very good afternoon to you.
Ralphie.
Billy.
Yeah.
How are you?
Okay.
Good. Sorry, I kind of disconnected you. I hit the button too quick. I have to reach across.
Yeah.
And I'm not thinking quite straight today. My allergies are killing me. So
Yeah?
Yeah. So,
yeah, but my eyes and this coughing here starting on me again.
Well, the ragweed gets me, so it's that time of year.
Time of year.
Yep, time of year.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I rather
I'm late because I was up in Brockton on Heights Crossings.
Oh, yeah.
Big time up there, so all of us went up and had free meals and win some gifts and stuff, you know?
Good.
And didn't have to pay a penny.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, that's real good.
That's a good thing.
Yeah. Yep.
So good to hear your voice. You feeling better today or what?
Well, yeah, but I mean, you get in the morning, boy, you got a hack and all that heavy stuff, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And at night, my eyes...
Drink more water.
Yeah, drinking, I'm going to float away. Shit.
Well, stay away from the stuff that gets you sticky inside, like the breads and the pastries and things like that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Eat healthy today. You got to eat healthy. Stay away from the medical system because they'll kill you.
Yep, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
One quick question.
Yeah.
Packard.
Okay.
They made convertibles up until.
Wow.
40, 41.
That's right.
And they didn't make no more convertibles until later 40. You know, years they started making them again.
Whoa! After the war?
Yeah, after the war.
Oh, that's a real good question.
Yeah, isn't it?
That's a good question. Geez, I didn't think they. Well, I remember Roosevelt drove around in a Packard.
Yeah, but that's 37. We're talking about
that's right.
after the war. They made convertibles up until.
I think they brought them back.
41.
I think they brought them back in 47, 48, right around there.
Well, you're all right. I'll give you 48.
48. Okay.
Yeah, when they brought them back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not for long though. Not for long.
Well, in the 50s they made some convertibles.
They did. See,
yeah.
I remember. Oh, you know what?
49.
You're right.
51s.
You know why I remember, Billy?
What?
You know, I remember seeing one in The Godfather. I think when he threw the camera on the ground.
Oh, yeah?
And he threw out a few $100 on it. Remember the movie? We came out in 71, 72.
Yeah, but I'm saying, even up to 56 they made convertibles. They made a big fancy convertible, tritone, black, turquoise, and white.
Yeah. And what? Not past 54, though.
No, just was 56.
That late?
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't think. Okay, so I'm learning something.
Yeah, because Packard went out of business after that.
Well, I didn't think they built a ragtop that late into.
Yeah, they did. Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I learned something.
I'm looking at one right now.
Okay.
I have one of those cars, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm looking right there now, and that's just what it is—a '56 Packard Patrician, turquoise, black, and white.
Okay.
Yeah. And then after that, I went to Packard Baker with Studebaker.
Wow.
And in '58, I was entered in.
Wow.
Yep.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
You got me.
Okay. I know you're short on time.
All right, Billy.
I'll catch you next week.
Thank you.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay. Tomorrow, 27th, 28th, will be the full moon. There are many superlatives to describe the September 27th through 28th full moon we're going to experience. It's going to be considered a blood moon or a harvest moon. It's the biggest, closest, brightest supermoon of the year. So that starts tomorrow. Let's see, tomorrow, yeah. Tomorrow. In the northern hemisphere. This full moon enjoys the title of harvest moon or blood moon. If you follow the Jewish calendar, this is part of the triad on high Jewish holidays. Last but hardly least, the supermoon will feature a total eclipse of the moon visible on the night of September 27th through 28th in the Americas. And, that's us in the Atlantic, and Greenland, and Europe, part of Africa, and the Middle East. This it's going to be the closest supermoon in this aspect of being so close and perigee to the Earth. Okay, so the moon will reach its crest of its full phase on September 28th at 2 hours 51 minutes UTC or GMT. Take your pick. Okay, so in our language, okay, we'd have to deduct 4 hours, so that'll be at 10:51 on the 27th for us. Okay. UTC is Universal Time Coordinated. If you're into 24-hour clocks, all time starts in Greenwich, the Greenwich Meridian. So it'll be interesting to see this when this takes place. Be a beautiful time if the skies are clear. So I hope it is. For we get 1 out of the 4 that we see. So the moon will be at its closest point to the Earth. And as you heard on the national news, some people are concerned about this, okay, and some of the predictions, okay. So I'd be a little leery if I had any money in the stock market going into October and what takes place during these times. And I'm sure Nancy Reagan used to have her own astrologer, and this is nothing new. The Pharisees did, and so have the Iranians for centuries before did. So, a lot of people do. Well, thank you for listening. Catch you next week. God bless. Enjoy the full moon and observe it, see what's happening around. We'll catch you next week. Remember, we need your business. See us at Ralph's Auto Center or send us referrals. We deeply appreciate it. And we look forward to being here next week, God willing. Bye-bye.